Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Max Story.
So last time we talked about trust being the foundation of influence or leadership. And today I want to talk about what I ended up on yesterday, breaking it down into character and competency. And much of what I'm sharing with you now, I learned from the book, The Speed of Trust by Stephen M.R. Covey. And Stephen M.R. Covey's father, Stephen R. Covey, is the man who wrote The 7 Habits. And I'm going to do a series on that pretty soon. So Speed of Trust, if you want to dive really deep into this, it's an amazing book. I learned a ton from it. It's my number 3 book of all time. So probably what's going to happen is in the near future, I'm going to do a series on my number 1 book, The 7 Habits, what I learned from it and how I applied it. A series on my number 2 book, The 5 Levels of Leadership from John Maxwell. Same thing, what I learned, what I applied, what it means. And then I'll probably do another series on The Speed of Trust by Stephen M.R. Covey, my number 3 book. So I'm probably going to do a set of series talking about some of the books that's impacted my life a ton. If you want to read my book, Defining Influence, Increasing Your Influence Increases Your Options, that was my first book, and tons of stuff in there on trust and building trust and that sort of stuff. And I'm going to do a series on my books too down the line. I'm going to mix it all up. But talking about character and competency, so character can be split into 2 groups, your intent and your integrity. And then competency can be split into 2 groups, capabilities and results. So I'm going to just break that down for you real simply here in the next 3 or 4 minutes. So when we talk about character, we go down to the most important piece, your intent. Your intent is your motive, your agenda, and your behavior. When you're trying to build trust, if you're on the front lines, you need to build trust with everybody because that's how you're going to grow your influence, especially with the boss. You know, what is your intent? Is your intent to badmouth the boss, to do as little as you can for as much as you can get paid, or is your intent to support the boss and to do more than is expected, to do it better than is expected, to do it sooner than is expected? You can just see the difference right there in those 2 people. One's going to have tremendous positive influence and one's going to have very little positive influence. So motive, agenda, and behavior, that's what intent is about. And then when you move over into your integrity, that's where you're talking about courage to do the right thing, congruence, one of those big fancy words, ain't a blue collar word, but I learned it in that book. And what that means, you know this one, walking the talk. Doing what you say you'll do, when you said you'll do it, how you said you would do it, because you said you would do it. That's what integrity is about, congruence, which is underneath the integrity piece. So you got courage, congruence, and you got humility, being humble, and honesty. Those are some of the 4 major parts of integrity, but there's tons and tons of principles under each one of these components. But those are the ones that Stephen M.R. Covey talked about in The Speed of Trust a lot. And again, character's where 87% of your influence is going to come from. So all of that stuff I just talked about and tons more, that's where you got to grow and develop your mind, your mental capability, your mindset. It's all in that side. That's what's going to launch you to wherever it is you want to go. And then over on the competency side, again, you have capabilities and results. Underneath capabilities, Stephen M.R. Covey talks about tasks, TASKS, talent, attitude, skills, knowledge, and style. And that's where you get into your skill set, your tool sets, what you know and what you're capable of doing. And then results is the other component of competency. And there, Stephen M.R. Covey talks about past results, current results, future results. So past results, what is your track record? Current results, what are you doing today? Future results, what are you going to be able to do tomorrow because of what you're doing today? Are you growing? Are you learning? Are you gaining experience? Or are you stuck in one spot and happy to stay there, which is fine. If you're happy where you're at and you want to stay there, that's amazing. That's relative to your competency piece. But our character is never going to be enough. So regardless whether we want to stay or whether we want to move on, we need to be focusing on character development. So that's just a small breakdown. And, I do this from memory. Most of the time when I'm talking to you on these podcasts, just like now, I'm just standing in my office. I don't have any books around me. I just talk. I know this stuff. I've been talking about it for 10 years straight because it transformed my life, because it resonated with me, because I started seeing results coming from it. I started teaching it to others and saw them getting results, which is why I'm standing in this room today talking to those of you who want to let me help you get to the next level. And believe me, I'm not the only source. There's thousands of sources. The key is to always be moving forward. So I'm going to talk to you next time a little bit more about the intent piece, because intent is the foundation of trust. Trust is the foundation of influence, leadership. What's the foundation of trust? And that foundation is intent. And I write about that in Defining Influence. So next time we're going to pick up and we're going to talk about the intent piece of the character equation. Have a great day. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mac Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mac's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.